Welcome! I'm Dr. Gordon Saxe, and today I'm going to be talking about becoming a light to the world. Each of my patients who comes to see me has a different set of health goals, which may be to address a major health problem, to lose weight, or just to look and feel better. To help them, I like to offer a simple roadmap that uses the power of the plate, the foods we eat every day, to reach their goals. And the reason is that the single most impactful decision that each of us can make is the choice of food we eat every day. Healthy diets are often labeled as fad diets, but I would argue that the biggest fad of all is the high meat and dairy, high sugar, high salt, low vegetable, highly refined and highly chemicalized standard American diet, whose acronym SAD, SAD, I think says it all. While the majority of our population follows the standard American diet, this isn't the way our ancestors ate or the way that many of the healthiest people on Earth eat today. Studies of individuals who've migrated from one area of the world to another underscore this point. When Japanese, Chinese, or others from countries with much lower rates of heart disease, cancer, or diabetes move to the U.S., their risk of these conditions skyrockets, increasing from 500 to 1,000% in a single generation. Clearly, the killer chronic diseases in Western society are primarily caused by dietary and other environmental factors, not by genetics. One very important health condition that affects a large and growing proportion of the American population, and that we all know has something to do with what we eat, is obesity. Obesity has been steadily increasing in prevalence for over 30 years and is a risk factor for almost every major chronic disease: heart disease, cancer, diabetes, and many others. Obesity is usually defined on the basis of a body mass index, or BMI, a measure of weight that takes height into account. A BMI of 25 to 30 is considered overweight, and over 30 is considered obese. Obesity is now reaching epidemic proportions in which over a third of the population in many states have BMIs over 30. Many people believe that obesity is genetic and that no matter what they do, they can't lose weight. While it's true that some groups are more susceptible to weight gain and obesity, for example, certain Native American tribes such as the Pima Indians, the truth is that these groups never suffered from rampant obesity until recently. And if obesity were largely a genetic condition, why has the rate increased so dramatically in such a short time span? The answer isn't that people's genetic makeup suddenly changed overnight. It's that the food supply did. We've seen the introduction of more and more convenience and junk foods. There's also been a huge increase in the use of added fats and refined carbohydrates, trans fats, and high fructose corn syrup in particular. But the good news is that obesity is almost completely preventable and reversible through a change in diet and lifestyle. I'm not saying it's easy. Making a sustained and comprehensive change in diet and lifestyle takes a lot of work and determination. Part of what makes it hard is the ready availability everywhere you look of tempting but obesity-stimulating, fast, convenient food. But more and more people are recognizing that the emperor has no clothes, that the standard American diet is killing us. But if the standard American diet is not the optimal way to eat, what is? Well, we have observed that 5 core principles, the common denominators of a variety of diverse fields such as nutrition science and epidemiology, and ancient healing systems such as Chinese medicine and Ayurveda, have withstood both the test of time and rigorous scientific investigation, and provide the underpinnings of an optimally healthy diet. We call these 5 core principles the 5 pillars. First, it should be plant-based. Second, it should be based on whole foods, not those that are refined or processed. Third, it should be balanced and diverse. Fourth, it should be local and seasonal. And fifth, it should be organic, biodynamic, and sustainable. The primary food groups of this approach are whole grains, vegetables, beans and legumes, and fruit, with the proportions weighted toward the staple foods, whole grains and vegetables. Secondary foods include seeds and nuts, fermented foods, sea vegetables, mushrooms, and herbs, spices, and teas. And optional foods include minimally prepared condiments, cold-pressed oils, natural sweeteners, and small, wild-caught, cold-water ocean fish. Some people may prefer to include these foods, whereas others may choose to forego them for ethical, environmental, or other personal reasons. Of course, it's important to keep in mind that there are other factors in health and healing. My friends often refer to me as the diet doctor, and they sometimes tease me for being single-mindedly focused on food. Of course, food is a central factor in healing, and in my view, it's the preeminent factor over which we have control. But they're right to remind me that it's not the only component of a healthy lifestyle or the only factor in healing. There are many others, and they bear mentioning. Physical activity, relaxation and stress reduction, sound restful sleep, giving and receiving love and social support, a purpose in life and a connection with something greater than oneself. One of the 5 pillars, and one of the most important, is the principle of balance. Health can be seen as a state of dynamic equilibrium between our internal and external environments. The external environment around us is always changing, and in response, we're called upon to make constant changes in our inner environment. We strike a balance between what we take in, what we utilize to maintain our body, mind, and spirit, and what we discharge or give back to the environment. The closer we come to taking in what we need at a given moment, not less, not more, the less disease-producing toxic excess will accumulate within us, the smoother will be what we eliminate, and the more we will experience robust health and freedom from disease. Many of the world's great traditional healing systems, including Ayurveda and Chinese medicine, are based on the premise that when an illness develops, the surest path back to health is to begin to restore balance and reverse the process. If toxic excess has already developed within us and led to the formation of too much fat tissue, atherosclerotic plaque in our arteries, a cyst, or even a tumor, then the first step back to health naturally involves aligning what we take in with what the body, mind, and spirit need for optimal functioning. Sometimes that's all we need to do. The body will naturally cleanse itself of accumulated excess, and the disease process will melt away. Interestingly, it's been well documented by Drs. Dean Ornish, Caldwell Esselstyn, and other researchers that adoption of a balanced, whole food, plant-based diet, reinforced by these other healthy lifestyle changes, can over time drop body weight, cholesterol, and blood pressure, improve control of blood sugar, gradually melt away blockages in the coronary arteries, and dramatically improve overall circulation and blood flow to the heart. Additional research that has evaluated the common characteristics of the longest living, healthiest people around the world across cultures and civilizations and has come to a similar conclusion. A plant-based diet paired with stress reduction and a connection to a community and something greater than oneself, a purpose in life, are the key ingredients to health and longevity. It's also been well documented that even after diagnosis and treatment of many types of cancer, the odds of recurrence and early death appear to be substantially lower in those who are lean compared with those who are obese. This seems to be particularly true for some of the most common cancers, colon, breast, and prostate, and there's accumulating evidence that adoption of a healthy diet and lifestyle may not only help prevent relapses of certain cancers, but in a growing number of individual cases have been documented to slow, stop, and even reverse cancer after it's spread. While Western allopathic medicine excels at acute and emergency care, it's ill-equipped to address the tidal wave of chronic disease that's engulfing the system. Interestingly, Ancient traditional healing systems like Chinese medicine and Ayurveda are strong where Western medicine is weak in fostering restoration of balance, prevention, wellness, and recovery from illness, particularly with chronic disease states. These traditional healing systems were also premised on the belief that the body and mind were one. They held that the health of the body was mirrored in the mind and vice versa. We've known for many years, since the pioneering work of Hans Selye and Herbert Benson, that psychological stress, mediated by the nervous, immune, and endocrine systems, can affect every cell, tissue, and organ in the body. The GI tract, also known as the gut, is particularly susceptible. Ever felt sick to your stomach about something that worried you? Well, it's hard to properly digest food when you're under stress. Interestingly, there's growing scientific evidence from the field of enteric neuroscience that suggests that what we eat and the health of the gut may have a profound effect not only on physical diseases, but on the brain and mind as well, including our thoughts and emotions, and even our intuition. Why would this be? It turns out that we may have what some have described as a brain in the gut, also known as the enteric nervous system. The gut-brain has an extensive reach with enteric neurons and nerve bundles embedded in sheaths of tissue lining the GI tract all the way from the top to the bottom, including along the way the esophagus, the stomach, duodenum, and small and large intestines. There's a huge amount of ongoing two-way communication between the brain and the gut, mainly via the vagus nerve, the primary visceral nerve in the body. The gut-brain senses the mechanical and chemical effects of food and the health of the gut itself and relays this information, such as whether we're hungry or full, back to the head brain. Cracks, fissures, outpouchings, and inflammation of the intestinal lining can perturb the underlying nerve cells of the enteric nervous system and convey, by the hardwire connection of the vagus nerve, a less than healthy signal to the brain. Changes in intestinal function, such as constipation, get conveyed to the brain in a similar manner and may account for the depression and other emotional changes often observed in those with bowel disorders. One particularly intriguing and important aspect of gut health that may strongly affect the brain has to do with the microbiota, the bacterial, viral, protozoan, and other life forms that constitute the gastrointestinal flora. Under normal conditions, a healthy gut is home to a variety of such life forms. These normal or commensal life forms are essential to us, and we could not survive without them. They provide ecological support to our immune system, occupying niches within the GI tract that might otherwise be filled by pathogenic organisms. They produce important nutrients for us, such as vitamin K and biotin, and they help to convert others, such as genistein from soy, to a form that's biologically available. So where do these good microbes, those that do all these wonderful things for us, come from? Well, after birth, they come primarily from the fermented foods in our diet, such things as miso, sauerkraut, pickles, sourdough bread, red wine, kimchi, and so on. When there's an imbalance in the intestinal flora, a message is sent by the gut that conveys information about this situation to the brain. If the balance is off or the gut is unhealthy, the brain and nervous system gets thrown off as well. Our diet and the health of the gut also plays an important role in the health of the immune system and the closely related process of inflammation. When we consume a highly refined diet devoid of fiber, and note that fiber is only found in plants, or high in the toxic gluten found in some of the most widely consumed genetically modified commercial strains of wheat, damage to the gut can occur, leading to the formation of cracks and fissures in the intestinal lining. This can permit the entry of large molecules from partially digested food directly into the bloodstream, a condition known as leaky gut syndrome. The immune system then mounts a response against these foreign molecules that ends up damaging innocent bystander tissues of the body, resulting in inflammation and autoimmune disease. Fortunately, we can support the health of the immune system and control inflammation in the body through what we eat. Whole grains such as brown rice, millet, kasha, and quinoa, vegetables, particularly those in the cabbage family such as broccoli, cauliflower, kale, and collard greens, the onion family such as leeks and scallions, roots such as carrots, daikon, and burdock, and ginger, various squashes, sea vegetables such as nori and wakame, mushrooms, and many others, beans and legumes, fruit such as dark berries, melons, apples and pears, and seeds and nuts. All of these contain gut health supporting insoluble fiber and a host of beneficial phytonutrients and omega-3 fats that help to cool inflammation. Our society is obsessed with the physical appearance of youth and vitality, but it doesn't teach us that outer beauty is a manifestation of inner health, and we're instead led to think of it as something superficial, the product of applying the latest cosmetic or passively receiving some new fad treatment or even surgical procedure. But it turns out that the appearance of our face, our skin, our hair, our level of muscle tone and physical fitness, the smell of our breath and body, the function of our brain, and how youthful we appear as we age are all functions of the inner health of our cells, tissues, and vital organs. And we can influence all of these outer reflections of our inner health and cultivate our beauty and attractiveness with what we eat and how we live. So I say, now is the time to reclaim our health and become a light to the world. And that has the power to guide the mainstream away from the standard American diet to a new, widespread, whole food, plant-based, balanced, organic lifestyle that supports the health of our cells, our microbiota, our bodies, our communities, and our world. In the Bible, it's written in Genesis chapter 1, verse 29, "And God said, Behold, I've given you every herb-bearing seed which is upon the face of the earth, and every tree in which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for food." We often think of food as fuel for the body and tend to focus on its effects on our physical health. But food is so much more than that. We interact with food not only on the physical level, but also on the level of our mind and emotions, socially with others, as well as on the level of our spirit. And yet in our society, we've lost our spiritual connection with food. Even many in the religious community who pray regularly and in other ways have a sense of and connection with spirit. It's been said that a heavy, unhealthy diet can actually make even the lightest spirit feel heavy. However, I would argue that a balanced, whole food, plant-based diet can rapidly lighten someone's heart, mind, and spirit, providing nourishment not only for the body, but for the soul. At the same time, we also need to remember that physical food is not everything, and that to be complete human beings, we need to foster loving social connections and dedicate our hearts towards service to others, to recognize something greater than ourselves, whether it's our community, the universe, or a power or energy beyond ourselves or our definition, and to incorporate a daily practice of gratitude, prayer, or meditation. So I say, now is the time to reclaim our health, to rediscover the spiritual connections inherent in what and how we eat and how we live, with reverence, and to become a shining model for others, a light to the world.